appear to be having some technical issues. Let's see if we are on Facebook. Nope. No Facebook. Hello, Marisol. We are having some issues here today. We had an expired link. But I'm glad you're joining me. Hello, Vanessa. Hello, Maria, Rebecca. Something is going on with Facebook. I think they're updating a lot of stuff. They're making a lot of changes and deleting a lot of stuff. We're not quite sure what's going on. I don't think they are either. Let me turn off this. But we are not up on. Let's see. Give me a second and let me see where it is. Give me a second, because we're supposed to be on Facebook and obviously we're not. Okay. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of issues. Give me a second while I put a note on Facebook that we are here. I still don't see me on YouTube. How did you come in? Oh, here. We are in YouTube. So let me go tell them on Facebook this is where we're at, okay? So give me a second. Okay. Let me put in el link, que no puse el link, perdónenme. Okay, ya estamos aquí. Well, I just put it in Facebook, but not live. I put the link to YouTube on my Facebook page so that they would be able to find us. So let's chit chat for a couple of minutes and then we'll get into the formal presentation about superpowers in English. As you know, we're venturing out more in English. We just finished taping an online course on prosperity in the midst of chaos. Money Magic, it's called. I'm very happy about it. And we started these chats. This will be the third one. And I did this one like 4 or 5 days ago, and it should not have expired. It was for tonight. But anyway, I was 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late. It's in English because on Wednesday, Javier, we're going to be doing English. Okay? So it is my language, even though I have a huge following in Spanish and a minimal following in English. Okay? Hello, everybody. Let me check the Francis Fox Reveals, see what's going on there. Now they're sending me to another page. Okay. It is there. Okay. Today's is in English. Today's chat is in English. Okay. where, what is today about? Since 1948, the people that have been born much more evolved, having to do with the transition of the planet into the golden age. The only problem is that before getting to the golden age, we go through this god-awful time called the apocalypse. Apocalypse means to reveal and to unveil. And the issue is that so many things are getting revealed that are so ugly and people are so angry. And there's an imbalance of the elements on the planet that between them finding out ugly things and having too much fire, we get all of this violence. And then we get nature trying to help out by creating catastrophes with water that can help to put out the fires and so that we don't all blow up at one time. So let me first go into the balance of the elements and the excess fire. Health has always been known to be the balance of the four elements, which are the water, the air, the fire, and the air. And those of you that like that little movie, oh my God, I don't remember the name, but it's about an avatar. It's a comic book, and it's about an avatar, a young man that is able to handle the elements. I'm not exactly sure which element was his specialty, but he uses it to defend his people. So we have the four elements. We have a fifth one, but that's for our planet, so we're not going to get into that. So all medicines on the planet, Chinese, Ayurvedic medicine, shamanism, has to do with a balance of the four elements. Modern medicine does not take that into consideration, but modern medicine, the medicine in this country, the United States, is actually one of the worst on the planet in terms of, in other words, there's countries like Kenya where you have more of a chance of your child surviving when you're in childbirth than you do here. You have a higher death rate at birth and many other things that is much worse here in the United States. And it's the most expensive system, but they don't take into consideration the elements, which every other system of medicine knows that that is the basis for health, is a balance of the elements. So we have an excess of fire now. We call it global warming on a global level. And then we have the excess of fire that is creating changes in people's personalities and is basically the gasoline for all of this violence that we're seeing. And that fire is coming from electricity, Wi-Fi, and now 5G. The augmentation in this technology that radiates the elements of fire was not something that was ever predicted or seen, but that's not really true, because in the age of Aquarius, which is what we've entered, it was said that there would be a vast augmentation in technology, also a vast augmentation in mental illness, and the mental illness is a symptom of this excess fire. Also in the Bible, there's a reference to in the future, which is now, the Bible was written 2,000 years ago, that people would have something that was hot, and that would sear them, S-E-A-R, which is what you do to meat. You make the where you're going to cook the meat very, very hot, and you put the meat on it, and you flip it immediately over, and you sear in the juices. In the Bible, it says this hot thing is going to sear people, and then bad spirits are going to whisper in their ears. Well, what the radiation destroys basically your protective system, which is this second body in the assemblage of bodies. I'm sorry, I don't have the titles in English. I didn't realize this was in Spanish. In other words, you have all of these bodies, which I've gone into in the other two chats. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, please see the other two chats, because you, every single person, whether you're an adult, a child, newborn, have every single one of these bodies. And if you're dead, your physical body's dead, but you still have all the rest of them. So this radiation destroys the second body, which is the major protection that God gave us. It's a net, like a fence, and it keeps stuff out, spirits and bad thoughts and people's emotions. It's an inch wider than your physical body, and we basically destroyed it because of all of the radiation. And then, of course, you get all the spirit invasion. So you have that issue, which has made us weak. So there's been, and this same radiation issue, having to do with individuals, you also have at a planetary level, because every one of those bodies that you're seeing up there, the planet also has. Mother Earth, Gaia, also has an etheric grid, which science calls the Higgs field. It also has an astral body, the gold one. It also has chakras. I don't know a lot about them, but it does have them. So the etheric in planet Earth is being destroyed, and they talk about the mesosphere and the different atmospheres that we have above the Earth have deteriorated. There's even one of them that is full of radiation, to where whatever goes through it is basically thrown off its course because of all of this radiation that does not allow a free movement. So we have an issue of our major protection, which is our etheric body in terms of each of us as individuals, being very deteriorated and not able to fill its function of protecting us. And then we have a planet whose etheric body, which is the same thing as that etheric blue body that you're seeing there, but in the shape of the planet. That blue body is in the shape of your body. So if you're born with a defect, that etheric body of yours had that defect, and that's why you were born with the defect. So that's the big issue today, having to do with superpowers, superheroes. But let's go into the gold body a minute, having to do with superpowers and miracles and superheroes, etc. I think that planet Earth probably does have mind streams. I have not looked at them, but I would have to say they would have, because they have everything else. So there's the movie Star Wars, which everybody loved. A lot of people said it was channeled from ETs. I don't know if that's the case, but certainly they knew what was going to happen in the future, and that future's today. There is a reason why this government set up a new branch of government of the armed forces, and it's called Space Force. Most people don't even know that we have a new branch like the Air Force and the Navy. We have a new branch called Space Force, and it has to do with what's going on outer space. Now, Space Force is not about scientists doing little experiments. They wouldn't put the name force behind it. The reason we have a new branch of the military has to do with a battle, a potential battle, and a very real battle that's going on between this planet and other planets. So now I'm sounding like Star Wars, and that's okay, because that's what's going on. And I'll tell you all the stories, which is the way I teach, that I have gathered together, that people have told me, that I have observed, to come to the conclusions that I've come to, which are not unique conclusions. So let's go back to Star Wars. The big issue in Star Wars, by the way, when they finished the last one like 10 years ago, and then they started a new series, I'm not talking about the new series, because the new series was not done by the same original people, and its intention is very different. Talking about the first set, I think there were 6 of them, but I'm not sure. In that set, you have Darth Vader in the last movie in that set of Star Wars, who almost destroyed planet Earth and turned it over to darkness because he had an emotional issue. He lost his mother when I guess he was a child, and then his wife became ill, and I believe she died also. And in that process, he became very bitter and negotiated with the darkness to see if he could save his wife. I may have some details off because this was years ago. And that was the last movie of that set. And at the end, Darth Vader is in a sea of lava, which is fire, the element of fire. And it was many, many minutes in the end of the movie. And I thought that was interesting. I really didn't understand any of it at that point. But basically, it was a negative emotional reaction to a real human issue that almost threw this side of the galaxy into the arms of darkness via Darth Vader, who had a trauma. Nobody liked that movie. They didn't like the ending because it wasn't glamorous. It was very homegrown, very much stuff that happens in your family. There's a loss, or people get upset because something happens. They have traumas. And I guess people think that superheroes or supervillains are not supposed to have that. But they do. Darth Vader did. But even before that, there's a confrontation between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. And they're there battling it out with the lightsabers. And Darth Vader tells Luke to find his anger. And Luke is almost losing. And most people didn't understand that. And when Luke was able to find his anger, well, I'm not actually sure whether he did, but anyway, he was able to escape. But the bottom line of that is that if you don't process your emotions correctly, you end up very weak in terms of this battle that planet Earth is going through today, which is a battle with darkness. Darth Vader did not do mantras or anything else, nor go to therapy about the loss of his mother. It repeated, which traumas tend to repeat. And then he basically sold the universe and everybody to the dark side. And when he was with his son, he told his son to do something that I'm going to explain to you now. He told him to find his anger because he realized that the son was coming from a place of weakness. What is this thing with the anger? The third body that you're seeing on screen is your astral body. It's a body that reacts emotionally. That body in Hinduism is considered a force. Astral force. But if you deny your legitimate emotions, such as hatred and anger and rage and depression, you are denying that body. All of these bodies here on the screen are one inside each other, each in a different dimension. But that astral body, when you're in denial or you don't want to accept because you don't think that being angry is nice, like Luke Skywalker, that body separates. You reject that part of you. And that's what Darth Vader was trying to tell Luke Skywalker, which it ended up being his son, find your anger, because he knew it would make him more powerful. It's the same thing that happens today. Since we are born, we are told to take our legitimate reactions and put them away. That's not right, it's not good, it's not social, it's not proper. And basically what we're doing is telling that gold body no to its very normal, natural reactions to things that happen in life. Even if it's something as traumatic as the loss of a mother, such as what happened to Darth Vader. You put that away, and basically what you're doing is putting away the gold body. But the gold body is a force. It's not only the force, it is actually your spirit. So you're walking around trying to save the planet, your family, yourself, and you're weak because you want to be a nice guy. Because honestly, you do want to save everybody. But this whole anger thing inside of you, which could be triggered because of all that extra fire in your house from all the radiation from your little games and your little computer and the Wi-Fi, and we must have connectivity, so let's get the higher level of Wi-Fi and now 5G. That fire in the air will make you more angry. But you can't express the anger. So you put it away, which means you reject that body, which is your spirit. The bottom line is that in Star Wars, when they say, may the force be with you, what they're talking about is, please have your spirit / astral body aligned with your physical body, because that is going to give you a strength that you will not have without that alignment. And that is a huge issue on planet Earth today, because we're not allowed to be aligned. It's not right, it's not good. Are there any questions about that up till now? I want to keep it simple. I'm trying to remember the name of that cartoon that has to do with the elements. That's fabulous, that I've seen it like 10 times and I can't remember the name. Avatar, I think it's Avatar. And it was, I think, a series, but it's wonderful and you should see it because it's a battling between light and dark and they're using the elements. You have to know about the elements if you're going to battle the darkness. So why am I saying this? Everybody who's listening is kind of normal people, etc. And the kids are kind of like nice kids. Years ago, a young lady who I respect a lot gave me a series of drawings that her friend had done. The drawings were awful. They were the nightmares that her friend had at night. And I used one of them on my social media and I had them for years. And then I finally said, this is like, I can't take this. This is awful. And I threw them out. The Last Airbender. That's it. Avatar, The Last Airbender. You need to see that. Okay. So I threw out the artwork of this girl who was suicidal, had awful nightmares, dreams, etc. And I'm sorry I threw them out because today, actually several years ago, I realized that she was drawing was her life at night. But what we all call dreams are really our life on the dimension that gold body is on. So your physical body lives, all these bodies go inside each other. Ignore the last one that's gray. We're not touching that today. That's your galactic vehicle. We're not talking about that. So these bodies are each in a different dimension, one inside the other. The one on the outside is the physical body. The one all the way to the left. Inside of it, but extending beyond, is the etheric. Then you have the astral body, which is your spirit. May the force be with you. And then you have that astral body. From inside of it is that gold funnel that you see behind those colored spheres, which are your chakras. You don't have two astral bodies, even though a lot of people have two astral bodies. So I lost my train of thought. I apologize because I get so caught up with describing these bodies. Will somebody remind me where it was that I was going? Avatar, The Last Airbender. Sweet movie. Okay. So I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm sure that I'll catch up with myself at some point. So magic, superheroes. This girl drew images of what happened in her head at night, but I know now where I was going. And we could say the dark forces are trying to not have me give you this information. That your astral body, your spirit, each of these bodies lives in a different dimension. And the body is the vehicle that your consciousness that pours into that gold double terminated funnel, your consciousness uses these bodies as vehicles in each of the appropriate dimension. So on the 7 astral dimensions, your gold body has a life. And we call it a dream state. We call it dreams. Okay, now they're all inside each other. So everything's like happening here, but in a different dimension. And the astral body in 7 dimensions. So this girl's dreams was her astral body life at night, which was such a nightmare that I didn't even want to keep those sketches in my computer. Today, I'm very sorry that I got rid of them because it seemed to me that the problem wasn't she had problems. Well, she did have problems. But today, a high percentage of young children live those images at night when they're trying to sleep because that's what's going on in those dimensions. And that's the battle that's talked about by almost every major religion about the time today. The problem is we have not understood that. So when kids can't sleep, young people can't sleep, or people that are mentally ill, or people that are when they can't sleep, we assume they have a problem and whatever. We attribute it to different things without ever having really diagnosed what the issue is. There's a woman there's an organization actually that is a movement. Because if you have a lot of problems at night with your astral body, eventually you're going to be diagnosed as having a mental illness, even if it is just because you have such a deep depression, or you go into such deep rages, or you have these crazy thoughts that basically I know most kids do not tell other people about because they'll say they're crazy. But this particular organization has a movement in which they want to require that psychiatrists and psychologists stop telling people that they're crazy and giving them names for those particular symptoms that fall under that classification. They want for these healthcare practitioners to find out what happened to that person, that they have these problems. And once they really start to do that, they're going to know more about your multidimensional assemblage of bodies. And the battle that everyone, but especially the younger people, are going through. So that gold body, your spirit, is literally duking it out at night with galactic spirits that don't even look like human beings, a lot of them. And they're shapeshifters. They can change their shape. And they can change their shape into anything. Another young lady years ago told me how at night, there would be spirits that would come in, grab her by the hair, and drag her over the roof of her home and take her dog and throw him against the wall. Sounds like craziness, but that craziness is repeated millions of times on the planet. Kids as young as 4 years old talk about spirits coming to them at night and telling them that the apocalypse started. A lot of the spirits tell the kids, and the kid could be 27, okay, tell them that they're going to kill their parents and they can't say anything. And then the kid obviously goes into a deep depression. They're not going to ask for help because they were told by these spirits that they'll kill their parents if they say anything. The point I'm trying to make is that there is something going on today, which is a war, which has been talked about for centuries, which for whatever reason, it's really a lack of knowledge. People assumed it would be on the physical dimension. They keep waiting for spaceships to show up on the physical dimension. And then other people are saying, but all these intergalactic forces are already on the planet. The fact that the government started a part of the military called Space Force means they already know this. I can tell you that they already know this. They already know this, and they're dealing with it. But what most people are not aware of is that it's the young people, okay, that are really dealing with it at night. I think it's the reason why maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, young people started to fall asleep a lot later. Rather than falling asleep because they were tired at 11 or 12 at night, they were falling asleep at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And I think it is because subconsciously they were afraid for their physical body to go to sleep, because then their spirit would be thrown into a battle with forces that they couldn't talk about because nobody would believe it. So let's talk a little bit about those forces. Let's start with the fact that those forces have the ability to put you to sleep, to where they can do all sorts of things to you, including rape you. I'm so sorry to share that, but so many people have talked about it. It shouldn't be news. And you can't move your body, yet you know what's going on. And of course, the next morning, you are exhausted, but nobody's going to believe that story, so why would you share it? Especially if you're a boy, because that's really humiliating. It happens a lot, and it's done on purpose, basically to drain your energy. Or you'll have spirits come in just simply to freak you out. You'll have spirits that will sit on your bed, that will touch you. And especially, I really don't know, especially like the little really kids, but the real little kids, but even older, the spirits will say things that are terrible and will, I was going to say drive you to drink, but maybe drive you deeper into your addiction with the little computer games, etc., or make you a nervous wreck. And meanwhile, you're not sharing because the adults have struggled with the issue of spirits forever. When a kid says to the mother when they're 5, 6, 7, oh, there's a monster in my room, when you turn off the lights, the parents will say there's no monster in the room and turn off the lights anyway. There's a monster in the closet. There's no monster in the closet. Of course there's none. Even when the parents actually believe in spirits. I had some people come back on vacation who don't believe in spirits at all. And they all talked about the fact that when everybody went to sleep, there was things walking up and down the stairs and it wasn't them. So there's like this little craziness going on with adults and with society having to do with acknowledging and dealing frontally with spirits. So what is a spirit? Well, take away your physical body and there you got a spirit. You're a spirit too. So it's not like such a weird concept. We know that when people die, their spirit supposedly goes to the light. A lot of times it doesn't. Those spirits also give a lot of grief, but they're nowhere near as bad as the spirits that never had a physical body. So what is it that we can do to help all of this? Because I'm not going to go on and on because this is like just a ton of very uncomfortable information. Number one, you need to protect the blue body, which is damaged. The only thing that damages it is fire, like DNA. And it does have, it is part of that is the DNA is intertwined with those braids. So you have to reduce the fire. You cannot be all day long on the computer, all day long with the games, all day long with the cell phone. And you need to start watching YouTube on a TV set or screen that's far away from you and not right here. So that body, so you can protect your protection. Also, that body and fire, that body loves earth and water because that body does not like fire. And what puts out fire? Water. Throw a bucket of cold water, a bucket of water on top of a fire and you'll put it out. Or take a couple of shovelfuls of dirt and put it on top of a campfire and it puts it out. So the more contact you have with water, going to the beach, going to the pool, tub baths, showers, the more you're going to be helping your etheric body, which is electric. So you have a responsibility to protect the protection that God gave you. And it's hard because your parents are also addicted to cell phones and their excuse is that they have to use it for work. But the least that all of you guys can do is not sleep with your cell phone, not sleep with your computer right next to your head on your body, not have the router underneath your bed or in the same room or the same wall where you sleep. And if you can, if you could turn off all the electricity to wherever it is that the router is or the thing for the TV set that gives you your cable, because that's a router and that has the Wi-Fi, turn it off at night. And you'll have at least several hours in which you'll be relatively free of that. If you can disconnect as many things as possible throughout the day so that they're not radiating, and then at night disconnect like everything, it's really going to help to keep that protection healthy. Contact with nature, being outside with nature, having photographs or artwork, anything that symbolizes or that shows the elements, not fire. You already have too much of that, but like trees and dolphins swimming, everything that has the water and has the earth, even if it's a photograph or a picture, will augment the elements of water and earth in your surroundings, and that helps to put down the fire. Mind you, this country doesn't believe in any of that, the medical system, but throughout the history of the planet, and even today, every other medical system knows that the basis for health is a balance of the 4 elements. And disease starts when the 4 elements are unbalanced, which is why the planet is sick, because we have global warming, we have too much fire. So most of these things that I'm talking about are not a subject that you can talk about or share easily, because the bad spirits have done a really good job of making people feel dumb, stupid, unsophisticated, low class, if they believe in spirits or talk about it openly. And yet our religions only exist because of spirits. If spirits didn't exist, our religions wouldn't exist at all. Bottom line. First thing Jesus Christ did when somebody was ill was cast out spirits. And at that time, they didn't have the really, really bad spirits that today will whisper in a 4-year-old ear, we're going to kill your parents, and throw that child into a massive depression to where the child can never sleep well again in their life because of that. These spirits are very manipulative and they're very savvy about all the psychological. Many people today are waking up actually bruised and with scratches. The spirits have gotten that aggressive. Just a little story. 25 years ago, I took care of a lot of children, a lot of ADD, and I'll never forget one day, because I could tell, because I'm a psychic. I can see other dimensions and I can kind of see what people are feeling. I remember sitting on the sofa and the mother was there and the kid was there, and so I said to the kid, when you're in a room with people, do you see like other people there too? And the kid would look at me and go, no. And I said, well, do you always see other people there or just sometimes? And then they would say, no, just sometimes. And the mother would go, what? And I would say, your son's seeing spirits. And the mother would be like almost ready to fall on the floor. And then would turn to the son or the daughter and would say, but why didn't you ever say this? And the child would look at the mother and say, I did tell you. And the mother would be like embarrassed, because that's what happens. We need to get that to change. We need to talk about it openly in front of the kids. And when the kids come to us, we actually need to believe them, because when kids say there's a spirit in the closet, a ghost in the closet, or a presence in the closet, they're right, because that's where spirits like to be, because that's where they're safe. They're not safe where there's light and there's movement, or in the middle of a room. They go to corners and dark spaces. So that's exactly where they stay. And why would that kid be making that up anyway, by the way? That your child's not a liar. No, well, they're imagining. In Renaissance time, imagination was considered a dimension. And imagination definitely works on the inner dimensions. It's not a reality of the physical dimension. So all of that, okay, all of that is information that may help to explain what it is that happens at night. So I wrote a book, which I haven't put out yet. And then I did a book on the astral body, spirit. Hi, how are you? And I kept writing, and I kept writing, and I kept writing. And it turned out that there were 3 chapters on spirits rather than just 1. And my bottom line conclusion is, this is interesting. Mental illness is all about you, me, other people not having control of the spirits in their life. So the spirits become very active at night. There's tons of them flooding into the planet. They are making not just kids, also adults, but mainly the younger people crazy. And it's because the younger kids are not educated and they're unprotected. So when I finished those 3 chapters, I went, well, then we wouldn't have mental illness if people knew how to protect themselves from spirits. But even more than that, if they actually knew that they existed, which they should know, because if you have a religion, it's all about the spirits of the saints or the gods or whatever. It's all about that. But again, the bad spirits have been very good about making it really not so great to talk about spirits. So everybody needs to be educated, and everybody needs to give each other permission to talk about what it is that they see, because anything that you see is a reality. It's just not a reality on the physical dimension, but that doesn't mean it's not real. Doesn't mean you didn't see it. There is I don't know if it's a cult or a religion in this country called Scientology. And I really don't know a lot about it, but I did do a video, the first video I did years ago, in which I wanted people to know that all those thoughts and those words in their head were not necessarily theirs, that they could be, and probably were a lot of them, spirits talking inside of their head in their own voice. So now you have that information. But the man that was reproducing them, because I ordered, I think, a couple of thousand, and I don't think I ever sold more than 200, but whatever, I ordered 2,000. It sounded like a really good idea at the time. He called and laughed and said, I just saw your video. And I went, it was a 5-minute video. I said, well, I don't think I like the fact that you're laughing at my video. He said, I'm only laughing because for $17.95, you're selling people something that Scientology sells for tens of thousands of dollars. And it was all about the fact that spirits exist, and they exist in your head, but they're not really existing in your head. People think that it's in your head. It's not. It's right there with you, but in another dimension, not the one where you have your physical body. In Tibet, they have this thought that you're really not allowed to have any jewelry that has skeletons in it unless you have the spirits in your life under control. And I think that we should take that up, that concept, because the issue with mental illness is not having the spirits in your life under control. We all live in a world full of spirits, and we don't have enough information about them. And there's really practically nobody that we can talk to, because you can't go to your priest or your pastor or anybody, because you're not going to have a very long conversation. They may send you to pray, but they're not going to be able to give you enough information. And they're not there with you in the middle of the night when these really ugly things are happening. And the medications that they're giving, the psych medications that they're giving to people who have totally lost control of their other bodies through sheer fear, those medications separate your spirit body even more from your physical, leaving openings so that the spirits can come in and invade you from the inside. So going back to superpowers and miracles and being heroes, most young kids today are spending their nighttime fighting against these dark forces, but without the information. And every major religion has classifications of spirits. In Tibet, they have 20 classification of 20 different spirits, one of which makes you forget stuff. And in the Catholic religion, they have them also. So you need to get yourself educated on it, and you need to understand that what they use to control is fear. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be afraid. You can't deny the fear, because that means if you deny the fear, you deny your force, your spirit. And so when you say the force be with you, your force is not with you, because you just denied it, because that force, that part of you, is the one that feels. But you have to get yourself educated, and you have to start talking to your friends about things like this, but somebody that you can kind of trust. That's not easy. That's why I'm putting this out here, knowing that I don't know, maybe I'll get a lot of criticism, or maybe some people will think kids should not see this, but kids are going through so much today, so much more than what it is that their parents are knowing. So when we see, and when the young people get addicted to all the superhero themes and all the little video games where they're killing in order to defend the planet, etc., that is on the physical dimension with a video game, but they are doing that in the other dimensions, but they're defenseless and without the knowledge and exhausted and frightened. But it's a legitimate battle that should be addressed openly. And maybe relatively soon we'll be able to see more of that on the physical dimension. But we need to quickly address this, because too many young people are feeling like they're crazy, when the truth of the matter is that they are seeing what's going on in the other dimensions, where they actually have a life. And in terms of creation, what happens in those other dimensions becomes a manifestation in what is the physical. So just one more short story to kind of give you a little more information. And people have listened to me or followed me for years may already know this, but I had an office, and on two separate occasions I had young ladies that were studying psychology. They never met each other. There was years in between them, and both of them went off, became psychologists. And both of them, after they graduated and they became an intern, which was part of the process, they both called me on the phone and said, Frances, I have to tell you a story. And okay, what? They said, I'm doing the intake with the patients in the psychologist's office or in this government institution with people that are crazy. And then when I talk to somebody who's been classified as a schizophrenic and they tell me their symptoms, because that's part of what they have to document, they're hearing voices. And then this person who worked for me previously said, I know they're hearing spirits, but I can't tell them that what they're hearing is real because I'll get fired. It was two separate young ladies who had learned in my office about the spirit world, went out to take care of people emotionally who were mentally ill or need help. And then they find they can't help them because they can't acknowledge that they know that what the person is hearing is very real. So don't deny anything that you're feeling or seeing. Try and figure out who you can share it with, and know that you should be proud of yourself that you chose to be born at a time in which we would have the deepest confrontation with darkness. Most of us thought it would be darkness on this planet. It turns out that it is a lot of darkness that's being thrown our way from other galaxies, which is why that movie, Star Wars, and a lot of other movies are a lot more real than most of us would want to accept. So you have a spirit, which is the gold body, which is your force. And that spirit and your force is very easily manipulated through fear. So I would like to recommend that you do this particular mantra morning, noon, and especially at night if you have any unusual happenings in your head, which really means other dimensionally. And that mantra is very simple. It's a purification mantra, like a vacuum cleaner. And the mantra is, even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself. Even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself. Now, there's an additional happening in that we have this energy being thrown at us here on the planet of suicide. It's like a virus. So it's like, wow, how did that happen? And yet science says that some of the viruses on the planet come in through meteorites from other planets. So not so crazy. So a lot of young people, if you have a deep enough battle with darkness and no help, and you can't see that this is ever going to end, it's very easy to get massively depressed and then want to die. At which time there's a special section of spirits that will hammer on you, whisper in your ear that you want to die and you want to kill yourself, when that's not really, you're not feeling it that intensely. But if they do it long enough, you will end up feeling that way, that you want to die, that you just can't take it. So at that time, I suggest don't wait until the end when you're like crazed. Start with the mantra when you get very depressed. Even though I'm depressed and want to die, I love and accept myself. Even though I'm depressed and want to die, I love and accept myself. And you do it continuously. You don't move your mouth with the words. You do it silently. I had to say it out loud to be able to show you. But you don't do it out loud. You do it silently. And then if you have, there's some, it's so true, I'm afraid of falling asleep. Oh, so you used to scream as a kid to leave you alone. That's a very good thing to do. Very good. Sasha, Even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself for the first day of class. Let me see. Can someone write the mantra? That would be great because I'm holding the dog on. Let me see if I put her down, if she won't interfere. Go ahead, baby. No, she's fine. I'll put it up on screen, okay? And I'll go back and see if you have other questions. Even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself. Honestly, the entire planet should be repeating these words in silence. It's a purification mantra. Everybody is frightened, even the adults that that look like they're just fine. So, and the other one is, even though I'm depressed and want to die. Okay, there's the other one. Let me see if you have more questions that I can answer. If you have spirits in your house that walk around that you can see, that means the vibe of your home is a vibe that will support spirits. You need to have a vibe that doesn't allow spirits. So I'm going to give you now a link to to our 8-hour video that has the ability to change the vibe of your home. This is not the one I'm looking for. Give me a second. Nope. I'm going to put the link here, and you should look at it if you have a big screen TV. Oh, I'm not going to find it now. No, I am not going to find it now. Let's see. Nope. We have, when you go to my YouTube page, Frances Fox Reveals, we have at the top an 8-hour video with dolphins swimming and a sound that initially is very irritating. But these spirits don't like it. It like picks them off. So you need to use that. You need to open the windows, let the elements in, a couple of times a week. We have a purification aromatherapy that has coconut, which is the spirits that used to have physical bodies, they don't like it, and the CBD, which is the really bad galactic spirits, they don't like that. It's a spray, it smells delicious, that helps not having the house and the home totally invaded with radiating devices. There's a lot of stuff. I can't go into everything now. But if you have spirits, it's because that spirit is comfortable there. And you got to change that, and you can change that. Those crystal singing bowls are great for changing the vibe, okay? Let's see. Francis, take a rest. Oh, yeah. No, there is no chat tomorrow because I will be, I need to rest. No, Wednesdays is in English, Blanca. Schizophrenia is when the person has not been taught that spirits exist and that they talk to them, and then they get crazy because they've got this thing that's talking in their heads and they think they're nuts, and they're declared nuts and they're not. But they did lose control of those spirits, and those spirits are jerking them around. The dolphin video is 8 hours long. It's free, and it's on my YouTube page, Frances Fox Reveals. Okay? Okay, so I am going to finish now. I hope I didn't scare anyone. All of you, whether you're young or old, you have a astral body, the gold body, which is your spirit. It is a force. It's known in Hinduism. It's a force. That was the force Darth Vader was trying for his son to accept. But to accept that body, you have to accept your emotional reactions. You have to accept that you can be mean and angry and depressed, etc., resentful, which are all human emotions, jealous. You have to accept it. We're not supposed to be perfect. If we were perfect, we don't have to be here, because we can't be part of this game of life on planet Earth. Nobody perfect is part of the game. It's all a process. I'm not going to explain now because maybe I don't have the concepts right, but you're not supposed to be perfect. The mantras help to process those things that we don't like about ourselves, which is what everybody else doesn't like either. So I suggest you try them. And I will be back here next Wednesday. And if you have thoughts or questions, you can send them to me, or next week you can do that, and I'll leave a few minutes for you to have more questions answered. And if you know other young people that are having a hard time struggling with, because basically the main, again, the whole thing with depression and exhaustion, wanting to die, fighting, all of that has to do with that particular body, your spirit, and that's the one that is battling it out in the apocalypse, in the other dimensions, trying to defend yourself, but not just defend yourself, but defend the planet. Okay? So we will see you. Thank you.